They didn't show up in the middle of the night wearing masks and carrying crowbars. No, these guys rolled up in broad daylight wearing phony uniforms and plastic badges, acting like they were some kind of HOA police. And the first time I spotted one of them walking around my truck, clipboard in hand like he had every right to be there, I knew something wasn't right. Before we get started, drop a comment telling us which country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story spreads. At first, I figured maybe it was some kind of joke. The guy had HOA cops printed across a black vest, but everything about him screamed fake, from the toy badge to the way he strutted around like a kid playing make-believe. My truck wasn't breaking any rules. It was sitting in my own driveway, registration current, everything by the book. So why was this joker inspecting it like it was about to get towed? I walked down the driveway, coffee in hand. "You lost?" I asked. He smirked, didn't even glance up from his clipboard. "Nope, just making my rounds. This truck's violating HOA code. Oversized tires, aftermarket tint, improper driveway clearance." He tapped the board like he was reading the 10 Commandments. "Each fine adds up. You're looking at about $500 so far, and if it's not fixed within 72 hours, the vehicle may be impounded." I stopped cold, staring at him. "Impounded by who? You?" "By the authority of the HOA," he said, chest puffed out. "That's what I'm here for. Enforcement. Community protection." I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. Community protection. Buddy, there's no such thing as an HOA cop. You're trespassing, and right now you're threatening to steal my truck. That's attempted theft. He lowered his sunglasses just enough to shoot me a look. "You want to argue? Fine, but you'll be sorry. You can either pay your fines quietly, or the HOA will take this further." I stepped closer, my voice cold. "Let me make something clear. This truck is registered with the DMV, insured, inspected, and parked legally. The HOA has zero right to touch it. You've got no authority. So unless you want me calling the sheriff's department right now, you better back off." For the first time, he hesitated, shifting his weight nervously. But then that cocky grin crept back onto his face. "Go ahead, tough guy. Call whoever you want. The HOA board will support me. In fact, why don't you take it up with them yourself? Office opens in an hour." I didn't give him the satisfaction of another word. I just stared him down for a moment, then turned and headed for my truck. Fine, if the HOA really believed they had the power to send out fake cops, I'd go hear it straight from them. And that's when this little game turned into something much, much bigger. By the time I reached the HOA office that morning, I was still fuming. The image of that wannabe cop circling my truck like a predator wouldn't leave my mind. I wanted answers. Inside the office, I found the president, Marissa Vale. She sat behind a large oak desk, a nameplate with her name gleaming under the fluorescent lights. She was the type who always wore a tight smile, as if challenging you to question her authority. I laid it out straight. "One of your so-called enforcers trespassed on my property this morning. He threatened to fine me $500 and said the HOA had the right to seize my truck. He was wearing a vest that said HOA cop. Want to explain that?" She didn't even flinch. She folded her hands and leaned back. "That would be Victor Hale. He's part of our compliance team. The board authorized him to conduct property inspections." "Officer?" I repeated, laughing in disbelief. "There's no such thing as an HOA officer. What you've got is a guy impersonating law enforcement. That's illegal. Texas Penal Code Section 3711 makes it a felony to impersonate a peace officer. Did you know that?" Her smile only tightened. "We're within our rights to enforce community standards. If your truck doesn't comply, fines are justified. And yes, we can remove vehicles that present a hazard or violate covenants. It's in the bylaws." "Hazard?" I leaned over the desk, my voice sharp. "It's a Ford F-250 parked in my own driveway. Perfectly legal. You don't get to rewrite the law just because it's written in some HOA handbook. Trespass is trespass, and attempted theft is theft. And if your Officer Hale comes back again, I'll be reporting him straight to the county sheriff." That wiped the smugness off her face for half a second, but then she quickly recovered. "You can file whatever complaints you want, but know this, the board supports Victor. He's doing his job." I realized then I wasn't going to get anywhere with her. She wasn't just covering for him. She was enabling him. Whether it was ego, control, or something else, she wanted the HOA to look like it had real power. Fine, I said flatly, because the next time Victor steps on my property, the sheriff will be there waiting. I left her office, the air heavy with the scent of cheap perfume and arrogance. My phone buzzed with a reminder. I had a 3-day business trip coming up. Normally, I would have worried about leaving my truck behind after what I'd just seen. But my wife, Sarah, wasn't just any homeowner. She was a deputy sheriff, trained and armed. Still, I didn't expect what happened next. While I was away, Victor didn't back down. He came back. And this time, he didn't come alone. 2 more of his fake HOA cops showed up, chains and tow rig at ready. They thought they could intimidate anyone. What they didn't count on was Sarah waiting for them.
Here you go. If you're enjoying this HOA story so far, hit that like button and subscribe, because the story is only going to get better. The morning I left for my business trip, I gave Sarah a kiss at the door and told her to keep an eye on the truck. She smirked. Don't worry, nobody's touching that Ford while I'm here. I didn't realize how soon she'd have to prove it. On the second afternoon of my trip, Sarah was home sipping coffee by the window when she heard the rattle of chains and the hiss of hydraulics outside. She set the mug down and pulled back the curtain. 3 men in black vests with HOA cop printed on them were in our driveway. One carried a clipboard, another a pry bar, and the third leaned against a tow truck, gesturing like he owned the place. Sarah's stomach tightened, but not with fear. She recognized the swagger instantly, men trying too hard to play authority. She slipped her pistol from the drawer, tucked it behind her back under her shirt, and walked outside as calmly as she were checking the mail. "Afternoon," she said, voice casual but firm. "Can I help you, gentlemen?" The clipboard guy didn't even look up. "Ma'am, this vehicle is in violation of HOA code. We're authorized to tow it. If you've got a problem, take it up with the board." Sarah kept her stance relaxed, but her tone sharpened. "This is private property. That truck is legally parked in my driveway. You're trespassing." The tallest one stepped forward, flashing a fake-looking badge. "We're HOA cops. We've got the right to enforce community rules." Sarah almost laughed. "HOA cops? Hate to break it to you, but there's no such thing. And under Texas Penal Code 30.05, stepping onto someone's property without permission is trespassing. Try to take that truck, and you're committing attempted motor vehicle theft." The 3 of them chuckled like she was being dramatic. One of them muttered, "Lady, go back inside before you get hurt." That's when Sarah stopped pretending to be just another homeowner. Her sheriff training kicked in. Her pistol cleared from behind her back in one smooth motion, barrel steady, voice commanding like a drill sergeant. "Hands up. Step away from the vehicle." The men froze. The clipboard hit the pavement. One of them cursed. The second guy decided to test her. He grabbed for the tow chain. Crack! Sarah fired once, controlled and deliberate. The round tore through his forearm, sending him spinning onto the driveway. He screamed, clutching the wound, blood dripping onto the concrete. The third man lunged at her, maybe thinking she wouldn't fire again. Wrong move. Sarah pivoted, holstered in a blink, and slammed him with the textbook takedown, sweeping his legs while driving her shoulder into his chest. He hit the ground with a thud, and she planted a knee into his back, pinning him. The last man went pale, hands trembling in the air. Whoa, let's talk about this." Sarah kept the pistol trained on him, voice ironclad. "No more talking. On the ground, now." And for the first time, those fake HOA cops realized they weren't in charge anymore. Sarah didn't flinch as the last man slowly dropped to his knees, palms pressed against the hot concrete. The 2 she'd already handled weren't moving much, one groaning, clutching his bleeding arm, the other flat on the driveway, pinned and wheezing. With her pistol steady, Sarah keyed her radio. "Unit 12 to dispatch. I've got 3 subjects in custody. Trespass, attempted motor vehicle theft, and impersonating an officer. Need backup in EMS." "Copy, Unit 12. Deputies en route." A few minutes later, sirens cut through the quiet neighborhood. 2 cruisers rolled up, lights flashing. Deputies poured out, only to see Sarah standing tall with 3 subdued suspects at her feet. One deputy grinned. "Sheriff, looks like you wrapped it up before we got here." Sarah handed the pinned man off to them and gave a crisp rundown. Fake HOA cops tried to tow my truck, flashed phony badges. One resisted. He's the one with the bullet wound. The medics whisked the injured man onto a stretcher while the other two were zip-tied and shoved into squad cars. The tow truck was impounded on the spot. By that evening, I got the call. Sarah told me everything, calm as if she'd just dealt with a minor inconvenience. The deputies had already stacked charges: criminal trespass, attempted motor vehicle theft, and impersonating a peace officer, a felony with up to 10 years in prison. They even added unlawful use of a vehicle, since they'd rigged the tow illegally. It wasn't just some neighborhood prank. It was organized, and the trail led right back to Marissa Vale, the HOA president. See, one of the men had dropped a clipboard during the scuffle. It was full of HOA letterhead and enforcement forms, the same forms Marissa signed. Worse, the county traced the payment for the tow truck directly to the HOA account she controlled. When the district attorney got wind of it, things escalated fast. The 3 fake HOA cops were indicted. 2 pleaded guilty and faced 5 years prison terms, while the ringleader, the one Sarah shot, drew 7 years. Marissa herself was charged with conspiracy to commit auto theft and misapplication of fiduciary property, Texas Penal Code 32.45, for misusing HOA funds. Upon conviction, she got 8 years in prison, was banned from HOA leadership for life, and ordered to repay $60,000 in restitution. She tried to claim she never authorized uniforms or badges, but with her signature on the paperwork, her excuses fell apart. Within a week, Marissa Vale was forced to resign as HOA president. The board voted her out under public pressure, and county prosecutors kept her on the hook for aiding and abetting. By the time I returned home, my truck was right where I left it, parked safely in the driveway. Chains were still scattered across the concrete like a warning to anyone else who thought about touching it. Sarah leaned against the hood, arms folded, smirk on her face. "Told you nobody was taking your Ford." She was right, and thanks to her, Marissa Vale's little empire came crashing down.